Hey guys, and welcome to the tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to make this chessboard and then all the other chess pieces that are drawn by hand. First, you want to go to File, New, and then we're going to create an ActionScript 3.0. Once we have the ActionScript 3.0, we're going to want to set sizes, which is you should do it by inches because the board's going to be relatively big. So you should always do it by inches if you're going to do a big project like this. So 10 inches is fine. Here we have a blank canvas. And we're just going to draw the chessboard out right now. So we're going to do square by square. And if you know how chess works, it's going to be an 8 by 8 tiled square. So first I start out doing this. Now that we have two squares drawn, just one second. So we have two squares drawn right here. And the easiest thing to do is just finish out the row of the 8 by 8 by just copying and pasting the squares you've already made. Just so you could have some kind of uniform shape at the end. It's kind of hard to draw everything at the same time and it come out the same. So here I'm just finishing up the 8 by 8 tile. And once we have that complete, we'll just copy and paste and put it right below it, but make sure that every tile should be opposite of each other. So what we're going to do here is just flip it using the modify transform flip horizontal. Then now we have two sections. We'll just copy and paste that down, and then copy and paste it down again. Here I'm just aligning the tiles to make sure that they're all aligned, and I'm just going to flip it over again. Like that. Need to make more space. So this is the last copy over that we need to do. I'll just copy it back down over. Once again, I'm just making sure they align perfectly before I flip it back over. So now that I already had it highlighted, and then just move it back up and flip it over. Just bugging out here for a second. Horizontal flip, and then we're just gonna move this in, and then perfect. So you can see now we have our chessboard, and this is just the basic backbone of what you need to do on your first layer. We'll just rename the layer chessboard, and then also you need your functions on here too, so we'll just underscore functions just for future reference. So then we're going to make another layer, and this is going to be your pieces layer, because to use the drag and drop that we want to use, we're going to need pieces. So just rename the layer pieces, and then just click out of the layer to save the name for it. So now that we have the chessboard made, we have to look at the units now. I like making my units by hand, but you can also just import pictures via like file import image, and then just save it as a symbol. As we can see on the right side there, they're all symbols now. So to make your unit, I'm just gonna do the pawn for example. I just drew a circle, and then just drew his arms off to the side, just for an asymmetric view, isometric view that is, top down. So we're just going to finish up this unit real quick, and then also you should see to the side you have a library and a properties tab. The library will show you all the symbols that you've saved, and the properties is whatever symbol or whatever piece you're holding at the time. You can change their properties and change what you want to name them in terms of coding, in terms of size, in terms of almost everything you can see. You'll see here. We highlighted the unit and then we did create symbol. So we want to make these unit movie clips to be able to drag and drop them later on, and just name them appropriate. So I just named infantry underscore pawn, and then just click OK, and now it's in your library. You see. So this is what I did for almost all the pieces. I just made symbols out of them, drew them by hand, then gave them properties, and also the buttons for stop and start and for the countdown timer. And I'll explain the countdown timer later. But this is just the basic concept of chess, because there's no taking over enemies. It's just moving as if you know how to play the chess game. It's just the board and the pieces for right now, and just the functionality of you being able to move and being able to time how long the game takes. So now that you see how the symbols were made, and see that they're on your pieces layer, which is my layer 2 right now, you have to make sure they're on a different layer, so when you move them, everything is going to be smooth with drag and drop. So I went to actions, window actions, which is also F9, and this is just the stop clock right here, but these are the drag and drop movements, and then you have your pawn 1 add list, and then this is just for what symbol you created, and then you name that property, and then you use drag and drop with a snippet code, and I'll show you how to do that right now. But this is exactly how you have to do it for every single piece, and make sure they have a different name and a different property when you're making them. So here's my symbol from before, and if I want this to drag and drop, I have to select it, and then do the same exact thing, actions, and then I have it selected already, so I can use the code snippet up at the top right. So here's the code snippet, actions, and then drag and drop. I just double click. This is Adobe Flash Player telling me that I don't have a property listed for that specific symbol. So I just did it, but usually you should select the symbol and go into your properties and then name the symbol on the canvas. So this is the whole drag and drop function. So I'm just going to Control Enter right here to see the export SWF file, and see I can just drag and click it and then move it around. This is a blank canvas, so I'm able to do that. So now I'll go back in and I'll show you how the chessboard works with the pieces. So I'm control entering the whole entire game right now. It's right there. So this is the game. You see, you can move the pawns. You can move the knights, the bishops. Sorry. So this is just a basic concept of moving. Here's the stopwatch, how it's working. I'll show you guys how to set that up later. And then if a player dies, if you overlap players, you just move them out. Like, I don't have the code in yet to automatically put them in their graveyard. So let's talk about the stopwatch. I have this is just a bitmap image, and this is a text box, and that's how almost every countdown timer is going to be. You're going to have to set up a text box of somehow, and then use device fonts to make sure there's no errors later within static text and dynamic text. So here's the code for the stopwatch right here, and you have import these. I'll put the codes in the description, or I'm going to put the codes in the written tutorial. But this is taken from another person that was open sourced, and I'll put his information down later, either in the description or also on the written tutorial. So we have start. This is what I added myself. We have start, add event list, and then mouse click, so that we're able to click the start button, and then we have it on mouse click for timer to start. We also have the stop button there, which is just on the stop button click, the timer is to pause and stop. So we have the button on there. It has 4 keyframes that we made, that we set up to do different functions every time we mouse over or click the button. As you can see, mouse click and then mouse click to stop. These are different colors of every keyframe of the button. So now I think we should look at the functionality of the game. We're gonna have to control enter here. This is the SWF file that we were talking about earlier. So I just moved pawn to pawn, and then I overtook that pawn. So I'm just gonna move it to the graveyard as of per chess rules. Um, this isn't automatically set up, like I said earlier, to just move the pawns after you collide them. I can add the code in later. That's probably a future thing I'm going to do. But this is just the basic concept of chess and mapping out my ideas on a chessboard. In terms of animation, in terms of just creating it myself. So the chess works for two players, or you can always play against yourself using a stopwatch. And it just is a basic concept of chess, and then the pieces are always in the right spot. So now you're done with your chessboard, at least the bare bones.